7th or 6th period, right?
Yes.
So when I look at this in general...
Are you looking at language or reading?
Let's look at language. So when I look at language, what are some things that we notice?
Lots of growth, I would say, for 7th overall. Especially with a lot of our GT kids.
That is true. Tristan, Serena, Trinity,
Leo.
Xavier. And Xavier. So, I think so, like, generally, right, we're seeing high achievement, high growth for most students in language. And then for reading, I think it's
Much more
spread out. And I think even in reading, let's look at the reading scores. Like, I think in reading we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In this particular period, like 5 students who would be in the high achievement but low growth. Right?
So looking back on last semester, what do you think caused this? Why was there such tremendous growth in language but not much in reading? And that really is across the board.
Yeah.
In all the classes we see the same.
And then there's some students that I think, like the students that I do see like high growth in reading, a lot of that I think is attributed to the fact that they found something that they really enjoyed reading through choice reading time, and I think perhaps also like they really enjoyed reading those informational texts that we're reading in history and in my class. So I think when I think back to first semester though, can we think about our PBL and like what were some of the standards or the things that we were assessing during that time maybe that could relate to this?
So in history, I know in the PBL we were analyzing a lot of articles connecting like San Antonio issues to issues in the Gilded Age. And with those, we were doing the summarizing strategy, the wanted but so then.
Oh yeah.
And we read probably half a dozen articles. And so but after the PBL, that became less of an occurrence. We weren't reading articles as much as we were during during the PBL. So I don't know if that contributes to it a little bit.
Well, when I really look at like individual students that I was either surprised by or not showing as much growth in reading, I look at some of the specific standards that they need help with.
They're still in 7th.
And a lot of it has to do with like literary fiction as well, and that's not something that we emphasize, nor did I really assess as often as I did informational texts in my class. So these are, we probably need to look at, well, expository, right, so that's what they were doing. Right,
in your class and my class.
So I think this is the one that we targeted students analyze and draw conclusions about expository text and provide evidence from the text to support the understanding.
Yes.
So that's what, through the informational articles and through the summarizing strategies, I think we targeted most heavily.
Yes.
Also for me in English, it would be like how throughout that first PBL, can I like infuse like fictional texts outside of their choice reading or begin to use their choice reading in a more strategic way.
So thinking about revising this for next year, I think it'd be really easy for me to pull fiction texts into my class as well to hit that, because that's clearly where I think we fell short.
Yeah.
So like looking ahead to the Untold Stories PBL,
Yeah.
I think we need to see what types of fiction texts we can pull in to hit some of those standards.
And now these kids, you know what I mean? Like,
Wait, say it again?
So I think it's some of our like GT kids or high performing kids that are showing high achievement, low growth. I think it's thinking about like our future PBLs. what will we do strategically.
Make sure they're showing growth.
Yeah, to ensure they're showing growth. And also to push them in certain ways or to provide opportunities for them to create like some sort of agency in their own, on their own, while still working with that other group of kids.
I think it's interesting because for language usage, I mean, we've talked a lot about using the Grammar Keepers lessons and how some of those same kids who didn't show growth in reading know those. I mean, they know what an apostrophe is, and they they know some of those lessons. But we still see a lot of growth with those kids for language usage as well.
But I can't say that like the way that. I think it's just the high expectations in your classroom in regard to reading and writing, right? That they perceive your classroom as like another English class in a lot of ways because it's the same expectations in both of our classrooms. I think that contributes to their language growth as well. So I think it's just about in both of our classrooms, how will we continue to like design authentic assessments of their reading. So, but what about the untold stories PBL? What standards would you be assessing in that?
Just the civil rights standards, and then social studies skills as well, which depending on what we decide to pull in for the text would, I mean, let's see, it might be making predictions, drawing inferences, analyzing information. Yeah, they're pretty generic, so they could fit with any of the texts we pull in.
I don't think I've decided what that writing assessment will be yet, because I think we're still working with Zach to figure out. Right? I mean, we've talked briefly about it, but we haven't decided yet.
Yeah. Just something to plan it for the most part. So looking at so we really want to target, we want to continue what we're doing with the writing in class because that's clearly they're showing growth. So how can we target those reading standards in the untold stories in both your class and my class? Like, do you have ideas of what standards in particular you want to look at?
I thought about doing like a Socratic seminar through book groups in a way. I think that's one way to develop like critical thinking skills while also giving them choice.